The chip war is over, and the United States, the self-declared architect of the digital age, has just lost the one weapon it believed China would never be able to create on its own. No grand announcements, no fiery press conferences, no headlines across front pages. Just one quietly released piece of silicon that changes everything. No sanctions, no bans, no blacklists can stop what's now underway, because China didn't just build another chip this time, it built an exit. A way out. A silent, strategic backdoor from America's hold on global technology. And it did it without firing a single shot. No drama, no retaliation, just focus, precision, and patience. The result, a fully functional homegrown chip built on RISC-V, an open-source architecture the US can't touch, sanction, or control. If you're unfamiliar with what that means, prepare yourself. This isn't just a technical detail, it's the beginning of a seismic shift that could redraw the global balance of power. This is no longer about semiconductors, it's about sovereignty. About who controls the future and who only rents it. For years, Washington played hardball, trying to slow China's technological rise. When Huawei grew too strong, it was blacklisted. When Chinese companies advanced in AI and cloud computing, they were cut off from chip designs from ARM, production from TSMC, and tools from ASML. The strategy was to slow China down just enough to stay ahead. But China didn't stop or panic. It adapted, quietly, steadily. It invested billions into universities, startups, and state-supported companies. It built a national mission around tech independence. And now, that mission has delivered more than just a processor, it has delivered freedom. The RISC-V chip is a clear break in the foundation of American tech leadership. Most of the world's chips rely on architectures owned by Western companies like Intel, AMD, and ARM. RISC-V is different. No one owns it. It's open, free, and immune to geopolitics. And now, China owns its own version of that freedom. This chip can be mass-produced, improved, and shared. Every breakthrough by one Chinese company benefits all the others. It's a self-reinforcing engine of innovation, advancing faster than any single company or country can match. This isn't decoupling, it's evolution. While the West relied on bans and blacklists, China quietly built, resilient, determined. Now the world is looking at a future where the US is no longer the single point of failure or control. This transformation is visible in places like Shenzhen's tech hubs and Beijing's research labs. What stands out is the determination and long-term vision, a country that saw losing access not as defeat but as a challenge. Meanwhile, in the US, politics stalls in cycles. Leaders chase headlines instead of long-term goals. Innovation falls behind regulation. The strategy is to block, ban, and hope the status quo remains. But it won't, because you can't sanction your way into staying ahead. The rise of China's RISC-V chip is not just a technical achievement, it's a reflection of America's mistake in believing it could suppress competition without evolving. And this is only the start. A parallel tech system is already taking shape: phones, servers, AI systems, all powered by chips made not in Silicon Valley, but in Chinese labs. That's not just a change in supply chains, it's a change in power. For the rest of the world, countries caught in the middle of this tech standoff, there's now another option. No more choosing sides. No more secondary sanctions. Just access: open source, low cost, high performance access. That's how soft power is built, not with threats or slogans, but with tools. Open source models scale faster, adapt more quickly, and resist manipulation. Just as Linux changed software, now imagine that same transformation, only in hardware. Chips, devices, infrastructure, all beyond proprietary control. This isn't copying, it's leading. About Donald Trump's unjustified tariffs on Canada. This is an attack on our country and on British Columbia families that will not go unanswered. The tension between the United States and Canada has reached a boiling point, with British Columbia Premier David Eby taking aggressive action against the US in response to President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods. The latest move proposes tolls on commercial trucks traveling from the continental US to Alaska through British Columbia. This bold strategy targets Alaska's reliance on Canadian infrastructure, turning geography into a weapon in an escalating trade war. Alaska, though legally part of the United States, is physically isolated from the lower 48. There are no direct roads, railways, or pipelines connecting it to the mainland without crossing Canadian territory. Every shipment of groceries, fuel, or construction materials must pass through British Columbia and the Yukon, making Alaska uniquely vulnerable to Canadian policy shifts. Premier Eby's proposal to impose tolls on these shipments is not just a retaliatory measure. It's a calculated strike at a critical pressure point. The tolls would raise shipping costs by thousands of dollars per load, costs that would inevitably be passed on to Alaskan consumers already burdened with some of the highest living expenses in North America. The Alaska Highway, a 1,387-mile lifeline built during World War II, is at the center of the dispute. A 1977 treaty between the U.S. and Canada explicitly prohibits tolls on this route, but Eby is testing the limits of that agreement. Trump has responded with fury, calling the move illegal and vowing retaliation. Behind the scenes, White House advisors are preparing legal countermeasures, including freezing infrastructure funds and reviewing cross-border treaties. The situation has devolved into a high-stakes game of chicken, with neither side willing to back down. For Alaska, the consequences are dire. The state's economy depends on seamless access through Canada, and any disruption could lead to shortages of essential goods. Remote towns like Haydider, which rely entirely on Canadian roads for access, would be hit hardest. Residents are already stockpiling supplies, fearing the worst. The tolls are framed as temporary, but industry analysts warn they could become permanent if the trade war intensifies. The conflict has also spilled into maritime routes. Most ships bound for Alaska travel through Canadian waters, particularly the Inside Passage, a protected network of channels that cruise liners and cargo vessels rely on for safe travel. If Canada were to restrict access or impose new fees, shipping costs would skyrocket and tourism, a vital sector for Alaska, would suffer. Even air travel is at risk, as flights from the lower 48 to Alaska often depend on Canadian airspace. Denying overflight rights would force airlines to take longer, costlier routes, disrupting both passenger travel and cargo shipments. The standoff is more than a trade dispute. It's a clash of national pride. Trump has framed the issue as a matter of American sovereignty, while Eby has positioned himself as a defender of Canadian interests. The rhetoric has grown increasingly personal, with Trump dismissing Eby as a weak provincial bureaucrat and Eby firing back with declarations of defiance. The longer the stalemate continues, the harder it becomes to find a diplomatic solution. Border communities caught in the middle are pleading for de-escalation. Mayors of towns like Skagway and Haines have sent joint letters to both governments warning of the economic devastation that further retaliation would bring, but their voices are being drowned out by the larger geopolitical struggle. For now, Alaska's fate hangs in the balance, dependent on a web of routes that Canada could tighten or sever at any moment. The broader implications are equally troubling. If Canada succeeds in using Alaska as leverage, it could embolden other provinces to take similar actions, further straining U.S.-Canada relations. Meanwhile, Trump's hardline approach risks alienating a key ally and destabilizing North American trade networks. The Alaska highway crisis is no longer just about tariffs or tolls. It's a test of how far both nations are willing to go in a battle where geography, pride, and power collide. As winter approaches, the urgency grows. Alaska's isolation makes it uniquely vulnerable to this geopolitical struggle.